So let's look at the Astros and the Red Sox. Red Sox home favorites today, minus 120. We've got the Astros at even money to win this one. It's Jake Odorizzi against Garrett Whitlock. Garrett Whitlock has been probably one of the better starters for the Red Sox so far this season, but coming off a game in which he gave up a season high of runs, only three, though, in 3 innings of work. Kind of shaky with his command as he walked several batters in that start. Then Jake Odorizzi, 3-2 this season with a 3.38 ERA, which on paper looks pretty good. But I will say he is not one of the most overwhelming pitchers you will see in the game. He's not going to strike out a ton of batters, but he's got the job done for this Astros team that's been red hot over the course of their last 15 games or so. 12-1 in their last 13 games. So, Jenks, looking at this one, who do you like?
I was looking at this earlier. I think I'm going to take Astros first 5 run line at minus 115 because you get a half run. And I know you talk about Odorizzi. He's not going to dominate you, but he's been so good. He's won his last 3 starts. He's allowed 1 run in his last 17 and 2/3 innings. Won the last time he pitched at Fenway, even though that was last June. I don't necessarily think the wrong team is favored here, but when you look at Whitlock, this is a guy who's essentially a converted reliever. He's not going to go far into this game, and the Astros bats, which were silent for the first month of the season, have really started to come alive. So Astros first 5 run line, you're getting a half run at minus 115. I love that bet.
This is a tough one because Garrett Whitlock is such a wild card. He has wipeout stuff, but also he kind of labors through innings just because you've seen him as a reliever, and it's kind of a different switch that you have to flip on as a starter. And this is one of the best lineups in all of baseball. Looking at this Astros lineup, I think my initial lean was to the first 5 over because I will say the Red Sox are actually starting to score a few runs. For a while there, they couldn't scratch us across any runs. So looking at the first 5, I think it's a total of 4.5. It's juiced to the over at minus 120. I do think the bats get to at least one of these starters. And I think Garrett Whitlock is, hopefully he doesn't go 5 shutout. He could, and that's the problem. That's why I'm probably staying away from this one because when you have a wild card like that, I just don't like betting on it.
No, I get that. And I kind of went back and forth here, but you mentioned it. Whitlock is such a wild card. I'm going to go with the more consistent pitcher. I can't believe I'm getting a half run here. I don't trust the Red Sox at all. So, yeah, I suppose maybe they have a slight advantage early on, but I just don't see it.
I think it's because Jake Odorizzi is one of the, I'm not going to say bottom starters, but like he's not one of their top end starters for the Astros.
Right.
He definitely can give up some runs. And if the Red Sox are seeing the ball at all, like they have been a little bit better, I think they can post some runs here. But I'm not ready to trust the Red Sox bullpen at all. One of the worst bullpens so far in baseball. And looking at the Astros bullpen, they've been one of the best, second best bullpen in all of baseball. So if you are playing a full game, keep that in mind. Let's move on to the Cardinals and the Mets. Mets minus 120 here. Cardinals plus 100. I need to double check this line because we've had a pitching change. It was Tyler McGill. Now it's Trevor Williams against Miles Mikolas of the Cardinals. So for me, I think I'm leaning towards the Cardinals plus 100. Trevor Williams has not been great for the Mets. 0-2 with a 5.73 ERA, and the Cardinals just came off a huge win over San Francisco, winning 15-6. However, that game on Sunday Night Baseball, so a quicker turnaround. Jinx, do you have a play here?
Yeah, this is probably going to be my best bet, and it's off the board right now, BetMGM, but I'm waiting for it to be posted. You can get the Cardinals first 5 money line at even money, and Mikolas is a guy who has been so good thus far. This can't hold. I believe he has 7 starts this season. He's 3-1 with a 1.49 ERA, so I don't know if he's going to be that good, particularly against this Mets lineup. But when you look at Williams, he's only probably going to go a couple of innings, right, Chelsea? Whether he's been out of the bullpen or a starter, he has an ERA over 5. I think there's a significant advantage here for St. Louis. I don't want to go full game because the Cards bullpen is not great. So I'll ride Mikolas in the first 5 at even money.
I don't think it's going to be even money. Full disclosure, I think once they make these changes, are these current odds? Do we know? Or is it off? I would be very surprised if this holds up because, Jenks, I think you're right. I think a lot of people will be following in your footsteps, and I bet this line moves because I think the Cardinals should be favored in this one because of the pitching matchup.
I think so too. But I've seen it at other books at even money. I'm going to bet it at BetMGM. If they post that number at even money, I am all over it, Chelsea.
We shall see. We'll see at the end of the show if this is still the same line, as the Cardinals have actually been really good as underdogs this season as well. Well, to hear all the best segments from our show, either listen for 3 straight hours beginning at 6 Eastern or subscribe and follow the podcast. Listen to the Daily Tip in the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcast. This is the Daily Tip presented by BetMGM. I'm Chelsea Messenger. He's Michael Jenkins. Let's go to the Braves and the Brewers. The Brewers favored at home here, minus 140. Is Freddie Peralta, I believe, going for the Brew Crew against Ian Anderson. A couple of good spots, I think, for pitchers, as the Braves are one of the most strikeout-prone teams in all of baseball. Freddie Peralta, definitely a strikeout pitcher, but a little shaky in some of his starts. A 4.40 ERA, including, I think he gave up a few runs to the Reds, which enough said. Then Ian Anderson going for the Braves, 3-1 with a 4.20 ERA. Jenks, do you have a play here?
I do. I always think it's funny, and you have to take this into consideration, is when you hear Freddie Peralta was great against the Reds last time out. I'm like, everyone was great against the Reds last time out. I just throw that away and say, what else has he done? But I don't know if you ever feel this way, but sometimes when you're handicapping a game, at least for me, I keep it simple. And yes, you can go into metrics, but here I think it's simple. Freddie Peralta, despite that great outing against the Reds, he's allowed just 5 runs in his last 4 starts. The Brewers are 10-4 at home this season. Braves are just 6-8 on the road. Milwaukee is 18-8 in their last 26 games overall. So I'm keeping this simple. I think you're getting the better, more consistent team at home with a slight advantage on the mound, and it's a pretty reasonable price. So I'd lay it with the Brewers at minus 120.
But look at Freddie Peralta's last few starts. They've been against bad teams. 2 starts against the Reds and a start against the Pirates. So, yeah, he hasn't allowed many runs in his last 3 starts, but those have been against some of the worst offenses in baseball. The one time he's faced a good offense, or I guess the Phillies are good too, but going against the Cardinals, he gave up 6 runs in just 3 innings of work. So he is far from dominating this season, especially against good offenses. I think I would go in the first 5, the Braves plus a half. Maybe
Okay.
keep it close in this one. I do think Ian Anderson is decent enough and can get some strikeouts against this Brewers lineup that strikes out a good amount this season. So I think I would look for some value because honestly, I think the pitching matchup isn't that big of a discrepancy.
No, it's very close, and that was the only sabotage factor, which we always talk about. And it's that Ian Anderson has been really strong for the Braves. I just feel like with the Brewers, you're getting the more consistent club, and Peralta has been better recently. Again, yes, the Reds, but overall, he's pitched much better than he did out of the gate.